This is the L&A Committee of RTM at 10:06 p.m. on February 21st, 2023. And we are going to call to order here. All right, I have the agenda somewhere right here. And let's take it from the top. You have the roll
Josh,
call already. Yeah.
Yeah. Was Jeff present or no?
Jeff is present. Yeah.
Okay. Got him. Okay.
Pam is not here. I think she might be the only one who's not.
Okay.
Okay. Do you need us to approve the minutes, Tom?
Yep. So I'll move to approve the minutes.
Can I get a second? Karen seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving right along. You have an abstention. Jeff abstained.
No, but they didn't post them. Did they post them?
They don't post them. They do they post them? I know I get them by email, but I don't know who else does. We're gonna abstain. We're gonna abstain on mass on the minutes because they weren't shared out.
Good point. Okay.
Yeah. But I did see them, but I don't think other people did. Okay. Let's see. So the first item is the Habitat for Humanity lease. Do I have a motion? Karen moves. Anyone want a second? Ed seconds.
I'll second. Okay.
Any conversation on this item? I will say that I did vote against it the first time around, but I'm in favor of it. I have been moved. I was concerned about flooding, but I don't think that that's going to be an issue, and so I've come along to it. Anybody else have any comments on this one?
What made you comfortable about the flooding?
Yeah, I think it was. It's not, as far as I can tell, it's not in the actual floodplain. Mm-hmm. I thought it was from the discussion that night, and I don't think that it is. It's certainly in the watershed, but so is everything else. So, okay. Any other conversation on this item? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're unanimous. Okay, moving along. This is the union now, the THEA. I need a motion. Who wants to move this one?
I'll move.
Tom moves. Second?
I'll second.
Karen seconds. Any conversation on this item?
Just a clarification question. When we asked that about the 3 months wait, right? So I assume insurance is paid both by the employee and, right? There's a cost.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, I don't know if you really addressed, like, what is the increase in cost
right.
of the insurance from the town?
I think the reason.
Big group.
Yeah.
And they add one person. I don't know how much that cost share actually increases.
Right, but also it's a high deductible. So I think her point was like the employee pays the first cost anyway on a claim because it's high deductible. So I think her point was like
3 months they're gonna pay for
they're gonna pay, but that doesn't. But so down the line, it just kicks over. So I think there is a cost, but it's probably not a big cost.
That has to be paid for.
Absolutely.
So, like, there's a share of that. I'm just curious.
And also, if and when somebody maybe hits their deductible sooner because they started 3 months earlier, and then it kicks it. So
I also think, like, with a big giant group, adding one person isn't like me signing up and I have a
no, of course, yeah, absolutely.
And
you're adding one person.
They probably pay for each person's premium, right? A percentage.
Yeah, a larger percentage.
Person clumps, though.
85% or whatever, right?
The deductibles paid, the rest isn't paid by the town.
Right, but it could increase your over time. If those costs go up, then your premium goes up.
Right? Let's say there are 78 people in that union. Mm-hmm. Yeah, something. Let's say they say the insurance for 80 people.
Mm-hmm.
The person is being hired. She's already that number is already in the number that they're insuring, right?
But the time, it's just a greater period of time that they're insuring.
Well, but I'm just saying, if they negotiate a price based on, we want a price for 80 people, like whether the person is insured now or in 3 months, they're still paying for 80 people because they know that's the number of employees they want to
higher, right.
They want to insure.
Yeah, it's not like it's unlimited, yeah.
Right, so they're already paying for that. They're not paying for 79 and then 80 and then 81 and 80 and then, so that's why I think, you know, they negotiate on the total number of employees they think they're going to have.
In the long run, I think
It's very minuscule.
It's minuscule.
But it's just waiting 3 months to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Or they're paying, you know, we just went through this. What you do is you hold back and you don't pay COBRA. You can pay COBRA in arrears. You have 90 days to pay COBRA. So
You're assuming somebody's going to lose a job, pick up a job. I mean,
And COBRA is so expensive.
Yeah.
This is absolute. Like,
no.
The fact that we don't have a pension, this is something we have to.
No, I think it should be everywhere. I mean, it should be everywhere in the world to be able to go to a job and start your insurance.
Start right away.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand.
yeah, I was kind of shocked when I saw this. I just assumed they were on the books day one.
Yeah.
Right?
I just did.
And this goes for everybody too, right? It's active, not just new employees, but it's everybody, every existing.
New employees, everybody.
Is it only new?
Only new employees. Yeah, only new employees.
For people who were there, they've already.
Yeah, they already have it.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, when I worked, it was always that 3 months, and you always had that COBRA for 3 months.
Yeah.
Even back in 1995, it was
Probably was done to
$800
for cost savings originally.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was to see if somebody's really going to stay at this company.
Right, like probationary. Plus, back in the day, you actually it took a while to get a card and get your name in the system. Now it's with computers. It's
Yeah, and, you know, the 401k stuff is always delayed.
Yeah.
No, that's true. All right.
Anything else on this item? We didn't vote yet, right?
That's right. That's what we were just saying. Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Did we lose you, Tom?
Nope, we're all good.
Okay, we're all good. So I think that was unanimous. Okay, we have the I guess it's two separate. No, it's one thing for two cell tower leases. Can I have a motion? Karen moves. Can I have a second? Ed seconds. Any conversation on this item?
Yeah, I have some questions about these, and I'll send those questions into the town attorney and to Jared Schmidt. But I wanted to get a clearer picture of what exactly the equipment is that's going to go on these towers. I tried to print out the addendums, and it didn't print out very well. They were really blurry. I thought maybe the copy that I could see on the computer was just, it was not visible just by looking at it on the computer, but it wasn't visible on the printout either. So, and I also wanted to see, I think they said that there was a reference to 5G technology. I wanted to see how many other cell towers we have in town that have 5G and whether or not they're spaced appropriately, because I know that, like in Europe, they space them out. They make sure that they're not around schools, a certain distance away from schools. I just want to make sure that we're taking that into consideration when we're entering these leases. So those are my questions. So for those reasons, and because I don't have those answers, I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on this item?
I just, when he said, oh, I don't know, they hired a consultant. And then I wasn't sure how much negotiating with the consultant they did then, but.
Well, they probably had to follow procurement to get the consultant, right?
Okay.
I would expect.
I've seen some bigger companies doing this lately. Like if they're very tiny contracts, they'll actually hire someone. Yeah, which is surprising.
Yeah. But it makes sense if you don't know the business.
Right.
Okay. Anything else on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we have all in favor except for one abstention, I believe. Okay, moving right along, we have the $7.5 million for non-recurring capital and the issuance of bonds for such. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Jeff? Okay. Tom seconds. Any discussion on these items?
I have one question. I should have asked Anthony this. Remember the 10-year golf plan?
Yeah, I think we completed it, right? Yeah, we're done.
We're done with it.
Yeah.
So what are we doing now? Is that going to be in the operating budget? Like whatever next 10-year plan? Because it's not in the master plan. I didn't see anything in golf in here. What are we going to do? Because that was an annual just renovation of what needed to be done. Because every year was something. Like gloves,
But this was the big stuff, right? And then maybe it's smaller now?
Yeah, so I'm just wondering how are we going to address a major revenue generator here in town? Like with all the, you think about it, all the stuff that has to get done every year through this, the bunkers and the flooding, and the screens and everything else, just massive. So I should have asked him. I'm going to probably send him an email later just to ask, but I didn't know if that was going to be addressed in the operating budget or in this, because it's not like this is going to be a one-time thing.
No,
before it was a recurring 10-year plan, so maybe he'll put it in the operating. Because wasn't it in the operating before? Do you remember that?
I don't think it was operating. I think it was.
Early came in with a 10-year plan when he said the golf commission. It was a 10-year just maintenance plan. It was
right. They do a couple of holes a year or whatever, and then they did the golf club.
It was smart. It was awesome. It was great.
And then they did the golf club, and I think they're taking a break because they.
$7 million and
are you taking a break or not? Like, where is that in the whole scheme of things? Mm-hmm. So, anyways.
And if the bunkers have all been replaced, then
the bunkers are the worst part of the whole course.
Okay,
and they have not been replaced. Maybe a couple of them. It's the worst part. Everything else is great. It's a great course, but you don't want it to, degrade it all.
Anything else on the?
Yeah, I'm going to vote tonight to approve it, but next week I might make a comment. I'm with you, Josh. When Angela's got up here and they're asking for the cart before the horse.
It.
This has got to be the fourth or fifth time we've done this now.
Yeah.
And I don't know where we're going with this. And Angela's saying, I'll come back and ask you. You don't have to. Once you've got the money, there's no obligation for them.
And then he still wanted to vote.
So
why do you need to vote?
Yeah, I mean, don't.
That was a little weird. I don't
Are they? The only thing I can think.
No, I understand.
It's like Google Maps all over again.
Like the sewage treatment plant.
Right.
The problem we had down there. I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Right.
Here's your blank check. You got to fix this problem.
Yes.
I get it. But this.
Yeah.
The
answer was not complete.
So is there a way for us to split that out and not do that as a body? Is there a way to just approve the things that are truly in front of us?
If we vote to approve it, I mean, we can always separate it from the consent calendar or whatever. But I don't know where we're going with this stuff.
I think I think maybe if you do that, it has to go back to the Board of Selectmen or something.
Why? Because we're just reducing it, right?
Yeah.
We are reducing it.
Yeah.
We can reduce.
Yeah. I don't really know the answer for sure. I remember asking this.
I think we could reduce.
We definitely didn't divide it in both separate.
And we could reduce it without impacting any of their timelines or slowing them down at all.
You take out that 30,000.
We're approving that, and we're not approving.
Yeah.
And then you come back to the final appropriation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm surprised this got through the Board of Finance.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Did you watch the meeting?
No, I didn't.
I didn't.
Yeah, maybe there was some discussion of this. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right to me.
So we can approve this for the exception.
I don't know. Whatever your guys' flavor is, I think that's a power we should only let out of our control if it's an emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
Otherwise, it's just the normal. And this is the normal course of doing business. I'm sorry, Angela, if you were here at 8:00 in the morning. And, so you have to go to another RTM meeting. You should volunteer if you were going to do it anyway. So.
And you develop a budget before you ask for the funding. You don't just guess at the funding.
Too. You're tipping your hands to the bidders.
Yeah.
We got 418,000. You want it?
Yeah.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So maybe we take that out and approve everything but that. For now, and it's not like that won't be a further.
Right.
It's just our recommendation.
Yeah, it's not with prejudice. It's just
yeah.
Isn't that a common thing though, where they don't necessarily know what it's really going to cost, but they want to bond it, and then they have the right to bond it, but they could decide whether or not to actually bond it.
But that's different. That's because they haven't bid it yet, but they've gone through the design process where the design consultant says, "Here's our estimated cost.
Right.
Here's your specs.
Yeah.
We believe this is a $200,000 project.
Right.
We have to go out to bond for $200,000, and they bet it comes in at $180, and they don't bond the full $200.
Right.
In this case, they're saying, we are guessing based on a project 3 years ago that it's going to be $200,000. We don't have any design. We don't even know what we're really dealing with. We want you to approve this number with escalators and contingencies, and then we're going to go out and get a design and find out what the probable cost is.
Yeah.
I think it's different.
Mm-hmm.
So can I just ask, do you think the pressure for this is from like to be able to say to the person who's going to actually do the work, like, I got the money, like, put me on the, in line to get,
right.
Or do you think it's pressure from the administration?
In today's economy, with contractors, you could be 100% right with that.
Yeah. I mean.
But then he should say that to us. There's nothing wrong with saying that to us.
Yeah.
Right?
I think we should not approve this.
Because if it takes us 8 months to get the money approved, then he's 8 months behind getting on the, in line. I don't know. Just again,
Let's let him come back and answer some of these questions.
Yeah.
So I would make a motion if we need to do that, just approve this minus that item. It doesn't mean it doesn't get approved, it's just our recommendation when we come back.
And at this time.
Why are you feeling the pressure to ask them up for the money up? Will this benefit the town in any way?
Tom, do you have that motion?
Can somebody say it again? Sorry.
This is Jeff, by the way, making the motion to basically split out. I don't know what you said.
Yeah, I mean, the motion is to approve item number 7 for the full amount minus the funds for what's this?
Mass Highway Tennis.
What's that?
I think it's the Mass Highway Tennis.
Yeah.
And construction and contingency.
Was it the Mass Highway Tennis?
We're leaving the planning cost, not design cost.
Design cost only.
So it's 30,000 only, right? So we'd have to what was it? 419 minus 30.
Well, minus 30 and minus another 30. Right, because there was the contingency and the.
It's just 30-something, 31 or whatever for the design. That's all we're approving. Yeah. Tom, you have that?
Am I putting in a specific reduction, like dollar amount reduction here?
I don't know if we even need a dollar amount. Just say we're all, there's a motion to only approve the design costs towards that project at this time.
Okay.
With no prejudice to the rest of the project at all. What was that? Oh, that's your phone.
Kind of like an alarm.
Okay. Ed, second. Vote on that motion, please. Aye.
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 Okay, that's unanimous. Now, can we vote on the overall item, or do anyone else want to talk about the overall item?
Well, I have a problem with the pickleball courts because I'm not convinced that these 2 additional courts won't cause more flooding. It's a big concern of mine, and we're approving this affordable housing, which is great, at the bottom corner of the same park. It's a dense area. This area shoulders a lot of the burdens for our town, and I don't see why we need to put additional pressures on it, why we have to have more amenities, more people coming into the area. I think that we should be spreading out the amenities and throughout the town. And open space is a high premium here, and it's highly valuable. And I'm very concerned about adding more coverage there. So I would take out the costs for the 2 additional courts. I totally support the renovations.
So you're suggesting splitting out and not approving the cost of the 2 extras, which I believe he did say was split outable. So your motion is to approve renovation of the 4 courts, but not the addition of 2 more.
Yes.
Okay. You sound like you have a second.
And I think that would be. Oh, sorry.
No, I'll second that, Jill. I agree.
Did you have something else, Jill?
I think that the renovations and the walkways would be $255 out of the $575.
Okay. Tom, you good with you got the language and everything?
Yep.
Okay. We take a vote on on Jill's amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm unsure.
I'm against that.
I'm against it.
Okay, we have 2. We have.
I'm a pickleball fan, and I don't even play, but I'm against it. I just think it's so popular.
Okay.
So did you go to the park? Because I went to the park.
I played pickleball there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And he's absolutely right, the way that people like to they come in a big group, and they take all 4 courts or whatever.
Yeah. But there is, I mean, there's that flooding hill, and it would ram right into the new court. And
Are the 2 up with the other 4? Or are they putting them?
I don't know.
No, they're going to put them right next to the other 4. The flooding hill comes from the upper parking lot.
Yes.
So it goes right. It really goes right down into that, right?
Yeah, it is. Okay.
What's the vote?
I believe Karen is a yes. Jill is a yes. Drew is abstaining. Ed and Jeff are no's. I'm abstaining, and I don't know about you, Tom.
Yeah, I'm voting in favor.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, on that one. And then we have the coronavirus fiscal recovery fund, which I guess is the reuse of ARPA. I'm confused by that language, but
It sounds like it was ARPA, but
it doesn't say ARPA.
Right.
It must be, maybe it's state ARPA or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, do we have a motion on? Wait, did we finish? No, we just voted on.
We have to still vote on the full. We need to vote on the rest of the amended item.
Thank you, Tom. Is there anything else on the overall item anyone wants to raise? All those in favor of the overall item as amended? Aye.
Aye.
I think we are unanimous. Okay. Now moving on to the coronavirus funds. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Karen moves. Tom seconds. Any discussion on this item or these items?
Well, this is the one. This is the one. Isn't this the one where we're doing? So these were all we just did, and then the coronavirus additional things. Okay. Sorry. Never mind.
I'm not hearing any conversation on this item. Last chance. Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Unanimous. Okay. That brings us to our fun part of the evening here.
We're starting at 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
May not be coherent, Jill.
Jill, if it's with you, I would propose that we just go through the red line. I don't know that we need to go through the memo, but you tell me what you think.
Okay, sure. Whatever you guys want to do. I did want to let you know just up front some of the work that did go into it, because this is a culmination of years of research and work. I wasn't involved in it for that long, but the resident who came to me and I've been working with has been working on this for years, worked on it with the Representative Perugini in the past session, in the past term. And before that, she had engaged a noise consultant, paid money out of her pocket to have someone draft some language, helped with some research, and the form that it's taken right now is very different from where they began, but it's evolved a lot through reading so much from all over the state and using that as the basis. So just a lot of work went into this. And we met with police several times and a few other people. Jeff Galdenzi met with Anthony Calabrese. I spoke with the Fairfield Athletic Foundation, and Jim Baldwin also spoke to me today, and I've incorporated his changes.
In the version that we have?
Yes, the one that I sent you today.
Yeah, okay. Great. Well, thank you. So do you want to walk us through the red line? I think that would be my proposal as how we approach this.
Jill, can you give...
Okay.
Hey, Jill, just...
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know along everything, but can you give a little more background as to, how this came about, why we're doing it, who brought it up? Like, what was the impetus behind doing this?
So the main impetus was to create a new standard for the police to help them with enforcement. The plainly audible standard is one of the most important changes that we're making, and the police support it, which is great. It should help them give them more discretion in determining whether there's a violation or not. Right now, we have very few infractions based on noise, and when there are infractions, it's not an enforcement of our local ordinance. They're always going to the state statute, because with the state statute, there's a reasonableness standard. It's a little bit looser, and the money doesn't go to the town. So we're just trying to make it so that we can get those fines and also help residents feel like they can, that this language actually serves them. And I think that new standard really goes a long way towards doing that.
No, but what is the impetus? Were there like 100 complaints? Was there one complaint? Was there complaints over a certain period of time? What drove the change to this?
There's been many complaints. I mean, we have seen them ourselves over the past few years. The pandemic, there's been an exponential increase in noise complaints because people are at home more and, they're noticing noises. We don't have any protections during the daytime hours. So that's another feature that we're including, and it's very important. We're the only town that doesn't have the daytime hours, so we're completely an aberration. And that's another change that the police support. So you have to have seen some of these complaints. I mean, and one of the things that people have discussed is that, they're not seeing any kind of enforcement. Like, why do we even have this ordinance? And it's a very basic protection. This is about a nuisance, and it's about property rights and enjoyment and use of one's property. It's something that most towns all across the country have in, it's a very basic thing, a regulation. So we want it to be useful to people.
So I'd like to just say one thing. So I'm a sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
This, in my mind, is not perfect. I still worry about enforcement. I don't support the fact that the first, complaint, there's no fine. I think money is the only deterrent, because if money isn't the deterrent, then you're relying on the neighbor to call and rat out your neighbor. And I don't know if I'd call and rat out my neighbor and not have them have a fine, because then, the deterrent I would hope would be it's going to be $500, and then they wouldn't do it. So, but I do totally support this, because it's baby steps. The old one was definitely outdated. It needed to be changed, and I'm not going to wait for perfection. So I appreciate all the work that everybody's done, but I am a little skeptical about enforcement. I wouldn't rather my neighbors.
I'm glad that Drew raised that idea of taking baby steps, because that's really what this is. We were trying to take into consideration some of the pushback we started hearing for some changes to the noise ordinance, and we've seen it happen in other towns, like when other towns have been going after leaf blowers, for instance, and we really didn't want to engage in that. We wanted it to be very moderate, small steps towards trying to address people's concerns and see whether or not this helps the police. And if it does, maybe we can tweak it even more down the line. But this is just the first step.
So that's what I was going to say. So we're not addressing leaf blowers. This is really about music, correct?
And the daily, or did we push the daily start time back an hour?
Yeah, the time.
The daytime and nighttime hours stay the same for most activities. For the prohibited, there's the specific prohibitions, and in that section, that's where it kind of narrows the hours that are acceptable for yard maintenance. It's dual, though, because it gives special protections actually for those kind of noises, so that people can't make complaints daytime for the most part, but it narrows it so that those that are very broad nighttime hours don't apply to that activity, to yard maintenance.
Okay.
So it gives a smaller window of time where they can do it. And it's an example of how the police worked with us in giving us feedback. Our hours were a little broader for those. It was more narrow and constrictive for those activities for yard maintenance, and they asked us to push it out by 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the night, and we did. They thought it would be better that way, so it's just a start.
So it's trying to tighten up the ability. it's not as strict of a measurement that the police have to use in order to enforce it. Is that the big change? It's really that.
Yes. For those activities, it's basically they can if it's before 7 a.m. or after I think it's 6 p.m. Really shouldn't be doing that.
Music, if I can hear the bass, it counts as being noisy, right? Is that the change?
Well, for music, the plainly audible standard, it's based on whether you can hear it from a certain feet from the emitter, depending on what zone you're in. So if you go to the chart in 78.5, that's the standard for sound production devices, and it depends on whether it's residential, whether it's during the daytime or nighttime. And that plainly audible at 100 feet, that's a very basic measure for most of the other towns that use this plainly audible standard. And other towns don't break this out in the same way that we did. We tried to really fine-tune it so that there were different levels for these different zones and different times of the day. For these other towns, they kept it at 100 feet, period. We moderated it so that it was different for the daytime and different for business and industrial.
Yep. But the bottom line is that this is a change, and before they had to have a decibel meter that was unrealistic, right?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
That's the big change here. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, Jill, I just want to say I read this last night, and the 15 minutes I dedicated reading it, it's obvious you guys put in a lot of time. This is probably the best piece of legislation I've seen written in the past 10 years. You guys, whoever did
yeah, wow.
That's great. Having been on this LNA for a long time, I think the purpose of tonight's meeting is form only, not substance. So while I might not agree with certain aspects of the things that are in here as to the form of what you guys have generated, I essentially have no problem. I do, the plainly audible language, even though you're saying that's new, anybody that is a member of the beach community reads the weekly reports. This is how the police department determines whether there's a problem currently. The police will show up and they will say, noise deemed reasonable for hour of day. If that's not the definition of plainly audible, I mean, it's already in effect now. So I don't necessarily see this as a change as to what the enforcement action is. I think the officers on the street right now are using their judgment to see whether something is objectionable. I think you guys have actually tightened up the language by saying whether it's amplified music. I saw the definitions in there of, how you determine, if I'm going to say, if you've got a bunch of kids sitting on a porch talking at a loud voice volume, that's not going to be plainly audible because it's not amplified. So there's a lot of different nuances in here that, quite frankly, I was impressed that you considered. I just want to say that. I really think you guys did a good job. I don't have a problem pushing this out of LNA tonight for the simple fact of the form.
So, Ed, on the form thing, we pretty much abandoned that as an LNA in the last session or two here. And Pam was instrumental in that, by the way, and she would say so. She basically threw a former member under the bus as having created that as a rule for the.
I thought it was in our rules to regulate.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, all right. We basically are the gatekeeper, and if we don't want it to go through, it doesn't go through. Right. For whatever reason, we don't want it. I'm not saying we shouldn't approve it.
The old ordinance doesn't work.
No, I'm not saying we shouldn't approve it. I'm just saying the bigger picture of LNA. That's all I want to come up.
Yeah, I don't think the old ordinance works. I really don't. It is outdated, and I don't think it matches the enforcement that is currently happening on the street. I think this ordinance does it. But Jill, I'm not going to give you a pass on this. I'm not going to lie and say there's several things in here that I do find objectionable. But I don't think that's be limited to this room.
Right.
I think that's something that should go to the floor of the RTM.
Yeah, I agree.
And
That's
Phil,
just me.
I think your memo said that when the police do arrest somebody or find somebody for this now, they use the state disturbance of the peace or something, or disorderly conduct.
Creating public disturbance.
Yeah.
Allow the Fairfield cops to say you're disobeying this particular ordinance instead, right?
Yeah. And it's actually, there's a reasonable standard, so they can use discretion more, but at the same time, that also requires intent, which is a harder finding. Our ordinance wouldn't require that. It just ours would just enable them to determine if it's really too loud, it's plainly audible, then they can be issued an infraction.
Mm-hmm.
Jill, one thing I want to follow up on. In your ordinance, there's nothing here that compels law enforcement to take action, is there? Are we still leaving this up to the discretion of the officer on the street?
It's up to them.
Okay.
Yes.
With the exception of if someone calls with I'm worried about getting some heat from the landscapers in my area.
Oh, we will.
We will.
Oh, we will.
We will. And they have got to stop them if they're before 8 o'clock. It's not their discretion that they can't. If someone calls and says, there's a lawn service next door and it's 7 o'clock, they've got to go stop them, right? That doesn't fall under discretion.
Right.
Yeah. The language says that they're subject to the standards of the noise. So there is a little bit of a standard there. It's not a hard and fast rule against yard work, but at those times. But it's up to the police to enforce.
Happen on the floor of the RTM.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a guy that lives across the street from me at night. In the summertime, when it gets close to the sun going down, he does his lawn. I get it. It's hot out. He's waiting for the sun to go down. He's not an early riser. I'm used to it. But under this, it's 6 p.m. on Sunday.
My neighbor had insomnia. He was mowing his lawn at 6 a.m. for 4 years.
But that
wasn't his business. He was just.
Well, and also the business guys, those are the guys that are really loud.
They're really loud. No, but the guy across the street, I'm like, are you kidding me? He's like, well, yeah, what else am I going to do? I'm like, oh, wake up the neighbors.
Yeah.
It's it's 5:40 in the morning, Andy. I'm going to kill you.
So LNA can look at, there's nothing that says we look at form only. It says we can look at everything. But you're right, we're not going to not let something go if we don't like the content, because we have 32 other members that have to decide that. So generally, we have looked at content.
Yeah, if we abandon the form discussion, then why are we even having this meeting?
Then that's the point, right? That's why does it come to us first? Then I think we've always looked at just form generally, but it's not in the rules. It doesn't say we can only look at form.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
I mean,
if there was
something objectionable that came to us, we could block. We could block.
There's a need in a couple of sections of town for this.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about the ordinance. I'm saying.
It's generally we look at form.
Wait for perfection. That's what I said. Right.
Even though
things have to be updated, and they're never going
to be. I have questions on the ordinance itself. I mean, is that now? Is that later? I mean, is this targeting music? Is it targeting live music? Is it targeting just blaring music? Is it certain areas of town? Is it mostly beach community? I mean, I know District 2, there's no issues. I mean, probably because it's a bigger district.
Right.
Or
there's no doubt. So do we do a uniform plan, or amongst the whole town when certain districts aren't affected at all?
Because I think how much is it going to be enforced? I mean,
well,
you want to update the ordinance, right?
Yeah. So what is the goal to target? What is what is it to target? Is it the kids' parties? Is it just music blaring down at the beach? What is? That's why I asked at the beginning.
That's a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that most of what drives this whole ordinance is just the beach, the crazy
live music's a good point. Like if there were a concert in town, it would probably violate this.
Well, after Sandy, everyone was grinding stone for new patios at 6:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? Now that's all done. No one's grinding stone anymore. No one's cutting stone anymore. But for a while there, it was holy shit, the day starts at 6 a.m., you know?
No, and that's ridiculous. There should not be all that yard work after a certain hour and before a certain hour. There's no doubt there.
Mm-hmm.
Live music a little different. I mean, what if people they've got events, they've got parties.
Block parties.
Block parties. I mean, so I don't want to limit that. I'm in a band in town. I've played in my own backyard. I've played at other house parties.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're not going to be able to anymore.
But isn't that where collective 40-member body comes in to play?
Yeah, you need to talk about that.
You
It
can
does.
do it
does.
till
I'm
11.
just telling you what some of my
No, I'm
You
with
can
you.
play in your backyard till
You
11.
can
only-
well, you can play till 11 and 10 on weekdays,
Yeah.
but I don't know how
So
much.
at some point,
I don't
then
know
why
what-
do we even look at it if we're not going to dissect
The noise.
it, right?
The
Well, it could
10
be
and
very
11
badly
exactly
written.
was in the older
And not
Okay, but then
You're right.
maybe I don't know what the changes really are. Is it how loud
Right.
it is, or
It's
is
how
it what
done
you're
they
not?
are.
Right, that's why, yeah. I mean,
Listen,
a lot of,
and you have to
I'm not going to lie, I barely paid attention.
Can I
to it.
respond to Jeff's question about what we're targeting? Because I didn't feel like, and I wasn't trying to target any specific area or any specific activity. I was really just trying to be responsive to complaints and seeing that there was sort of just like a gap in our regulations right now and trying to fill that. The beach area is a particular problem. You can see in the infractions that are issued, a lot of them are issued in the beach area, but not all. If you look at that chart, it's 30% of the complaints are coming out of the beach area. So it's not just the beach area. It does relate to and help the more densely populated areas. So, I mean, if you're in Greenfield Hill or, you know, it's just a little bit different, and I don't think that you will be utilizing the noise ordinance in the same way that maybe other people who are closer together will be. I think that, you know, we all are going to be relying on our neighbors too. I just don't think that you'll have an issue, Jeff, with your band. If you haven't had an issue yet with your neighbors complaining about it, then I don't think that this is all of a sudden going to spark issues with some kind of complaint against, you know, out music where you are. But I'm just hopeful that this whole
area
have been happening.
You know, in, you know, densely populated areas, it's good to give the residents some recourse.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't disagree with that. So I'm just worried about blanket ordinances that affect everything the same way when it may be different situations.
What happens at the Lincoln Park of Palooza when Jeff's band is playing? And there's
I really don't want to.
Okay, it's not Jeff's band. There's five. I know there's 5 different bands playing. Okay, in people's backyards, and it's a wonderful event. But there's somebody who doesn't like it, and they call and complain. What happens? What happens?
The first
You're
one's
right.
free.
It's a great question.
Yeah, but it's only they can't complain till 11 p.m.
But it goes
On
till
the
11.
weekends it's really late. It's a very late time. That's another good point. Is we're also an aberration that way. I think it's a good thing because we want to encourage commercial activity. We're a college town, but we really are. I think we have the latest nighttime hours, and so there's a serious protection there for all of these kinds of activities. And I don't think that we can have the expectation that you can have loud music blaring at like midnight.
Yeah.
What if like a guitar? What about an acoustic guitarist goes in the backyard for a wedding party or something, and he's playing till 10 o'clock? But you know,
if it doesn't have an amplification, it wouldn't be an issue.
Right.
You don't have to shut their party down. You just have
Well,
to.
Let's just say he does have an amplifier. It's a backyard. He wants to be heard.
I
mean,
think Ed's
I don't
right
know.
about that these are things that we should talk about.
That's fine. Okay.
So the question would,
You're
I
right.
think, would be, do we approve this, or is there something we have to fix right now, like law?
Jill, have you talked to Baldwin?
What's that?
Did you talk to
Town Attorney Baldwin?
Yes, I spoke to him today, and he only gave me a few things that he wanted to change. He also suggested that I reach out to the police about removal of the 24-hour period for the fines, and I did that, and Captain Waya does want me to put it back in. So that's what my inclination is, to do what the police want.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was Baldwin's concern, 24 hours?
Yeah, he pointed out that he asked me whether that was intentional to take the 24-hour period out. It was, because what the 24-hour period does in our current ordinance means that someone's going to get a warning, then they're going to get a first offense and a second offense, and the clock restarts the next day. Or, like say they get these fines and then the next week they are issued another infraction, it would restart. So that next time that someone complains about the same emitter, they would get a warning first, and it would start the whole thing all over again. And we were concerned that just wasn't enough to deter people from being bad actors. But Captain Waya said that he really doesn't want to, he thought it was going backwards to be so punitive, and he wanted people to be able to start over again. And so I'm to him.
Can I talk?
Sorry, I just didn't know where it is.
Yes, this is Alyssa. This is Alyssa Israel. I don't know, and she was the main architect of the ordinance. So.
Oh, we didn't know. No, I don't want it. I gotta go.
So this is the LNA meeting. Are you
No, she's a resident of my district.
I mean, we could have public comment. What do we think?
It's short.
Yeah, we're all kind of fading here.
Yeah, I'm in bed actually. But I
issues later.
With regard to the changes today to the 24-hour, I looked at the other ordinances and the way we did, the 24-hour period and resetting, that is very novel. I don't see that in other towns' ordinances. It's a couple of them. Norwalk has 24 hours, but it's not meant to reset. That's not the way I read Norwalk. And then the other ordinance that we based a lot of the changes on were Rocky Hill, and they don't have a 24-hour period reset, and neither does Bloomfield, which is the basis of a lot of towns' ordinances. So that 24-hour reset seems to be original and not very useful, in my opinion. So I hope you'll think about that, and I can show you the language from the other ordinances so you can compare.
I think that would be on the floor of the body that we
on the floor. Okay.
Okay.
So I have a question, Jill. I see the citations in here to the different towns, to where I guess the idea came from. Is that intended to live in the document, or?
No, it won't remain there. I just wanted it for people's reference.
Yeah, but Jill and Ed, I thought that was greatly appreciated because it gave an indication of the depth you guys went to. I found it helpful. Like, you look at something and like, where the hell did this come from? Oh, well, they do it here.
But is that it shouldn't be part of the document? Okay.
I think it was for our edification.
Okay.
Like, we're not just making
it
is.
Right. So you'll take that out for the body, or will you make it like a footnote or a comment or something?
I could do two separate versions too. So one with the annotations, and then one that's just a really strict red line of all of the current language and the red lines of the additions and the deletions.
Yeah, because I think we have to approve
without the annotation.
Jill, I don't want you guys to get all warm and fuzzy feeling on this stuff. I mean, you're in for a battle.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have. I mean, straight through here. I don't want you to think that this is automatic. Yes, vote on me. I mean, you've got something here about garbage collection. I own commercial property. Those guys come at 1:00 in the morning.
Mm.
So you're going to get a lot of pushback and a lot of commentary on this. So I wouldn't go back to your people that have you're dealing with and saying, oh, we got great response. There's several things in here that are going to generate public discussion.
Can we?
I totally understand that.
Changes versus me having to go through, or any of us going through like 12 pages of red line saying, okay, what are the main, what are the main points?
Honestly, I did was read what they did.
I don't know.
Even look at.
I can't recite you what
It's a 5-page memo.
Okay.
With what Josh said, that helped, right?
I just read the new one. It was just like, it's modern. It's up to date.
I'm not really able to process looking at all the red lines. Like, okay, what does this mean? What are the changes? Like,
changes are what are being.
I know what the changes are. I mean, look at the red line, okay, but like, what's really what are the changes in this ordinance from what it was? I don't know the old ordinance other than 11 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night. So what are the new changes?
The memo helps.
I think that's how I'm going to process. Looking at the red line is not going to.
Okay, let's
I want
vote.
less work as possible.
So you're calling for a vote. So are we ready? Everyone good to take a vote? I'm moving this on to the full body.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any?
I'm going to abstain.
No one's opposed, right? Anyone abstaining? We have Jeff abstaining. Anyone else abstaining? All right. I think that was our last. Thank you, everybody. Is that our last item of business? I think it was. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Karen motions and ending. Thank you, everybody.